Hey everybody, welcome to the Basically Sci-Fi podcast, the short story writing show featuring two stories of what you can basically call sci-fi. My name's Todd.
And I'm Jared.
Hey Jared, what's up?
Oh, not too much.
Oh yeah.
Yourself?
Man, I got all kinds of things going on. I got this, I got that, I got stuff and things.
But nothing specific.
I've got the best specifics. I've got incredible specifics. Specifics you never even heard of. You wouldn't even believe.
In fact, I don't believe you. I need you to explain yourself.
Well, you see, and
right
I think that this is the kind of discourse that we need, you know, if we're gonna have a better show. And I appreciate your questions and look forward to engaging with you on those matters.
All right.
All right. We'll do that next time. Hey, so we're doing a short story show where we are going to be reading stories that we've written based on prompts that we've given each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. At least that's the concept I was led to believe in.
Well, you never know what you're getting these days. What were the prompts that we gave each other last time?
I believe mine was governments.
Yep.
And yours was clones.
Yeah. Sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like sci-fi governments.
I immediately went to thought of writing about a planet that cloned our government and used our government as theirs. But I decided that would be regrettable. So I didn't end up going that route, but I still kind of want to write that story, just not where anyone can see or read it.
It doesn't sound that bad. The direction I'm going with it immediately is they clone it, but you know, it's just a little bit wrong, like fundamentally.
Well, they don't have Twitter, so the president has no way to communicate with the people.
Oh God, what does he do?
Grabs people by the pussy somewhere else.
Okay. He doesn't tweet them, "Get in my office. I'm grabbing you by the pussy."
I mean, I assume that's what he does.
Me too. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Probably just Twitter, actually.
Brilliant insights.
For brilliant insights on this particular show. Anyway, I know that my story this week is going to be featuring Vin, the Purple Pirate, from my previous stories. How about you? Are you continuing from anything?
No, I came up with a different planet for this.
Okay.
It just didn't really jive with the last characters I was using, I didn't think, so at least the idea that I ended up using didn't.
I was wondering about your mad scientist with his little grabble. I thought maybe you remember the mad scientist who went around spreading space viruses and Grabble, his assistant?
Yeah,
I thought maybe we'd see them again. I loved them.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about them. I liked I liked the last group of characters I used. And I am gonna go back to them, but I don't know. I kind of lost interest in Seamus and Grabble. I might go back to them eventually. Still, they have a reusable story, I guess.
Anytime you just need to go to a new planet and conquer it,
just change the wording a little.
There they are. Okay, so anyway, let's get into it. Do you want to go first this week? Nope. All right.
Let's just keep a format.
Well, I mean, I'll try. Anyway. Okay, well then. Sorry, guys, but you gotta listen to my story before you hear Jared's this week, too.
Or you can skip ahead.
All right, my story this time about governments and clones. This one's called The One Where No One Dies.
Well,
if you can believe it.
I feel calmed in the idea that I won't have my heart torn out by the death of a character.
I know, it's been like a weekly thing where you've been inconsolable after the show.
Makes it hard to read my stories between all the weeping.
That's why I ask you if you want to go first. Alright, the one where no one dies. It's 2 p.m. Space Standard Time, so everyone knows what that means. It's time for the daily rally aboard the New Australia. Vin, the purple pirate of love, stood on the balcony of his 16th century governor's mansion and looked down on the adoring throngs of people like some kind of person who's really good at public speaking and loved holding rallies from high up on a balcony, and perhaps he had a mustache and was a shitty painter. But Vin doesn't have a mustache, so I'm gonna say he looks kinda like a pope.
Does he have a silly hat?
He's got a silly captain's hat.
Alright, then I'll take it. I'll take your comparison.
All right. To a pope, and not someone else.
Yes.
The crowd was frothing at its collective loins, and ravenous for more good words. Tell us the good words! Talk goodly to us! Get us all riled up about whatever bullshit is on your mind today, they cried out. Vin motioned for the crowd to quiet down, but they couldn't. They were just too stoked on seeing their beloved captain and king, Vin, the purple pirate. Vin addressed the crowd. Hello, New Australia! How you all doing? The crowd erupted into cheers. They were doing well. Time for a brief update on the state of shit. Our mission to enslave the giants of Njordstjerne and blow up their planet was a success. Oh, by the way, we decided to blow up their planet. Unfortunately, we had to do this sans war crime laser. Soon, construction of our very vital and much needed intergalactic pipeline will be completed, and that will be very good. Believe me. Can you hear me motioning with my hands too while I read this?
No.
Not everyone believed him. As in, just one person didn't believe him. And she made her voice heard. Her voice drowned out the rest of the crowd because she was half banshee. What are you idiots cheering for? This guy is a pirate. He stole our homes and forced our families to live on this giant terraformed pirate ship. He's trying to build a giant pipeline and destroyed a planet just because he couldn't be asked to build around it? This guy's pure evil. The crowd went relatively quiet. Not completely quiet, because there were a lot of people mumbling, "Tone it down, lady," under their breath. Vin feigned shock. No, everyone. This half-banshee is absolutely right. All of those charges are true. A tear came to his eye. It is good to remember sometimes that I am a pirate. I value freedom above all else. None among you are bound to this ship against your will. It might do my ego some good to hear a voice of dissent sometimes. Please, good half-banshee, I invite you inside my mansion to discuss your concerns. If I am unable to assuage you, then I will assist you in relocating to another planet, along with some funds to start your new life. Vin raised his arms and flexed for some reason. Am I not generous? The crowd sang. He's generous, so generous.
Oh, God.
The half-banshee was escorted into the mansion, and the rally was over. When Vin came downstairs, he was joined by his commanders, as the half-banshee started shrieking again. You better believe I want off this ship! My family, too! Vin didn't even look at her. He merely motioned for her to be punched in the gut, bound and gagged, and dragged off to a secret underground laboratory.
So, in the episode called No One Dies, you've almost immediately killed someone. Awesome.
Vin's first mate Sneeze punched her in the gut, bound and gagged her, and then dragged her off to the secret underground laboratory. The lab was built directly under Vin's mansion in Tortuga. It was poorly lit, but well air-conditioned, and furnished with some very comfortable chairs. Sneeze dropped the woman in one of the chairs, and pet her on the head. I'm terrible sorry about how Buddy Vin has you tie up and punch. Do not have worry, though. You will be clone, and clone will be happy, okay? What M's name you have? He removed her gag, but left her hands bound. My name is Vrika, and what do you mean I will be clone? You will be clone, Sneeze shrugged. He was lacking some vocabulary to properly explain Vrika's situation to her, and he couldn't be bothered to check his electronic translator. He simply pet her on the head again and went back upstairs. Vrika was left alone in the room. She struggled to free herself from the bindings, to no avail. Suddenly, a bright spotlight illuminated the room. Directly under the spotlight, a man stood, his face masked in shadow. Welcome, baby! Oh boy, are we gonna have some fun! After Vrika's eyes adjusted to the light, she saw the man was a small figure dressed in the flamboyant manner of a circus ringleader. Who are you and why do you look like such a dork? Don't be shy, baby. It's just you and me down here. You can call me Dr. Uncle Chippertits. He approached Vrika's chair and with both of his tiny hands began to braid her wild banshee hair. Don't touch me, you creep! We will have to do something about all that shouting. Consider it a service. Is your mate a banshee too? No, he's a pussy-ass Ikafrygin. He does whatever I tell him and I love him and he's great. Oh, you have children. Do they take more after your banshee half or his squidman half? Vrika shouted meekly. Don't you drag them into this. This is between me and your jerk captain. Fine. Let's just get started then, honey. Vrika's husband, Chisai Toko, and her 2 children were just sitting down for dinner when they heard a knock at the door. Julep, Turnip, that's probably your mother at the door. Don't start eating until she sits down or she will shout my ear hole off. Chisai Toko got up from the table and walked down the hall to open the door. He checked his reflection in the glass of a framed photograph from their vacation to visit his parents at Planet Ikafry. His right cheek was still a little swollen from yesterday when Vrika came home. So he decided to lean with his left cheek today. He opened the door and leaned forward, tilting his head to the left. Welcome home, dear, he said as he braced for impact. I'm home, Vrika said as she kissed his cheek. Chisai Toko held up one tentacle to his face and blushed. How was the rally? It was great. Vin was so amazing today. Oh, sorry. Today too, as usual. That's good to hear. Mummy! Both her children shouted and rushed to hug their mother at the door, even though they were full-grown adults and like 30. The 3 of them sat down to a lovely meal. So, back at the laboratory, underneath Vin's mansion, the real Vrika, not the clone that was sent to her house, was still having her hair braided by Dr. Chippertits. He held up a mirror to show her how it looked. Wow, it looks great. I've never been able to get this under control, but your hands are magic. Oh, darling, you are too kind. Still, she shouted, I don't know how I feel about being cloned and replaced. Come on, honey, you said you were leaving anyway. There's no reason to drag your family into this too. Trust me, after your makeover, you are gonna look and feel so fabulous. You're not even gonna let some pissy little despot take that away from you, are you? I won't let him take shit from me. I am strong, I am beautiful, and I am worth it. Yeah, that family of yours was just holding you back. Oh, yeah, Vrika moaned. But what are you doing back there? It is amazing. Oh, you really want to know my secret? The doctor held up the mirror again. Weaved into Vrika's braid was a wire. A mind control wire. Vrika knew it was a mind control wire because it had a big old label on it. And then the doctor cackled, Ha 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 ha! I've weaved a mind control wire into your braids. No one disagrees with Captain Vin and then doesn't get turned into a mindless slave. Whether it be on matters of opinion, taste, or preference, no one escapes. The doctor held up one last wire dramatically. As soon as I weave this into the final wire, you will be under our complete control. Here I go! Vrika screamed a loud banshee scream. Dr. Uncle walked around in front of Vrika's chair and pointed at his ears. Too bad, Banshee. You think I didn't know that you banshees loved hollering and screaming and causing a ruckus? I came prepared with earplugs. He may have been wearing earplugs, but he should have been wearing a cup. Spoiler for the next line.
Yeah.
Vrika had him right where she wanted him. Despite the fact that her hands and feet were still bound, she was able to land a devastating blow to his Achilles dick. You know, that's my weak point, too.
Yeah.
Vrika's family had long been masters of dick kicking. with the technique passed from generation to generation. The double-legged dick kick possessed an exceptionally high level of destructive power. There was nothing left of Dr. Uncle's entire crotchal region after Vrika's attack. Just blood and a mysterious white ooze dripping from the bottom of Uncle's torso. Dr. Uncle's life flashed before his eyes. He was a boy again, and his father had just caught him with his hand in the cookie jar. Father said, "Uncle, I don't hate you. I'm just disappointed." Uncle had been crying for a few minutes, but he was finally starting to calm down. I didn't think anyone would see me," he sniffled. "Son, it's not about being caught. Your mother told you that cookies were for after dinner only, and you didn't listen. We respect you because you're a smart boy with a bright future ahead of you. But when you don't listen to your mother, you're not returning that respect that we have for you. Can I still have a cookie after dinner?" "Maybe tomorrow night. But tonight, you have to think about what you did. Do you promise to be a good boy?" "I promise." Uncle wiped one last tear from his eye. "Good. Remember, always treat your mother and I with the respect we show you. And also remember, if anyone ever kills you, make sure that you take that fucker down with you." With one last ounce of strength, Dr. Uncle took his surgical space sci-fi scalpel from the tatters of his pant pocket and plunged it into Vrika's chest. He then totally died. I forgot about that when I wrote the title.
Yeah. Oh well.
Whoops.
He's just a Dr. Uncle.
Yeah. Vrika, though, didn't have time to die. Despite her wound, she wriggled, trying to free herself from her bindings. She managed to rub her chains against the laser scalpel, and with her hands free, she then cut the chains from her feet as well. Her strength was fading, and her vision was blurring, but she managed to find her way back up to Vin's mansion. Luckily for Vrika, Vin had a tendency to just assume everything was going to work out as planned, and she found the mansion completely empty. There was a note on the coffee table that read, "Dear Uncle, I assume everything went well. So, we've gone to have another debaucherous festival. I'll bring back funnel cake. Sincerely, V." Vrika crumpled the note and tossed it aside as she stumbled her way home. She stumbled through the empty streets to the train station. She took a train back from the capital to her hometown. From there, she caught a bus back to her neighborhood. She got off the bus and then stumbled again all the way up the hill to her door, took out the key, and opened the door. It was there she finally collapsed. Vrika could no longer see, but as if from far off in the distance, she heard a voice call to her. "Mom! Mom!" It was Turnip, her son. "Mom! Aren't you supposed to be upstairs having grown-up time with Dad? Why do you have a big hole in your chest?" Turnip's voice became more quiet and more distant. Vrika whisper-screamed to her son, so I assume that's like regular volume.
Yeah, that seems about right.
"Turnip, it was Vin. You can't let him get away with... Kick him in the... like I taught you." She passed out, but she didn't die. And I promise you guys, she's going to be totally fine. Turnip, however, could not hear the omniscient third-person narration, so he was freaking out. Meanwhile, at the Galactic Society of Friends... I should read that better. Meanwhile, at the Galactic Society of Friends... A few of the interns were just chillin', maxin', relaxin', all cool, at the ball pit. The rat scallion intern started throwing balls, and those balls were a lot harder than they seemed when thrown by a giant beefcake rat man, empowered by the yellow rays of the sun. He nailed an invader intern right in her eye, and she started cursing up a storm. She was dropping F-bombs, H-bombs, N-bombs, and Q-bombs all over the place. These bombs were considered to be both war crimes and against protocol, so she had to be disciplined. Her meeting with Supreme Guy in Charge Yoayuki was scheduled for "Get in my office now. You know you can't be using language like that on government property." He started it. "It doesn't matter who started it." The invader intern crossed her arms and pouted. Her name was Zephos. Like the rest of her people, she had green skin, big anime eyes, and pointy elf-like ears. Not entirely like the rest of her race, though it's not particularly uncommon. She had long wavy hair, red as the blood of her warrior people. Zephos was a strikingly sexy invader, and when she walked into a room, the other interns had a tendency to start saying questionable or straight-up ignorant things like, "I'm not a space racist, but..." or... "There's just something different about the way alien skin feels, you know?" Or, "Is it true they have sideways vaginas full of teeth? Buttholes too? 'Cause to me, it seems worth the risk, damn." Yoayuki had been gazing lustfully into Zephos' eyes when he noticed that her injured eye was starting to get pretty swollen. "Okay, I admit that in this instance, maybe it does matter who started it. I will have the entire race of ratscallions write a letter of apology to the invaders of planet Spartine. And, accordingly, all invaders will issue a formal promise to abstain from such unconstructive language while engaged in formal ball pit activity, or else face sanctions and shame from the rest of the society." "You've gone mad with power, Yoayuki!" Zephos shouted. At this, the supreme guy in charge simply turned his back on the woman. His long cape was embroidered with the phrase, "How's my chancelloring?" and the phone number, 555, fuck off. Zephos wasn't impressed. "You get that cape from your new best friend?" "I don't know who you mean." Like, you literally don't know who I mean, or you're being an ass? "I don't know what you mean by best friend, but if you're asking where I got this dope-ass cape, I got it from the Purple Pirate." There's been a lot of talk among the interns. "What kind of a talk?" "People saying you've gone mad with power." "I seem to remember you saying that about a minute ago." "It's not only me," she shrugged. "Far be it from me to suggest that perhaps we shouldn't have given you unlimited authority and power. But I will say that I hope the Dark Lord Edith gets here soon and explodes your fucking eyeballs." "The intern would do well to watch what she says, less she intends to write me a letter of apology along with the ratscallions." "You can silence me here, but remember, Vin doesn't respect any authority. He won't care what title you hold, or how many apology letters you command him to write. If this plan of his doesn't work, and we don't get a hold of those dark crystals for Lord Edith, Vin will throw you under the bus so fast you won't even have time to blink sideways with your gross fish eyes." Yoayuki said nothing. Well, nothing except, "I'm not going to dignify your rude behavior with a response. I'm just a little bit more cool now. I don't let bugs like you get under my gills." "What do you mean now? Now that you've got the Purple Pirate committing your war crimes for you?" "No, I'm just a little bit more mature now is all. A little bit more cool." "Wow, you sound like a huge dork, and I'm pretty sure I don't want to know anymore," Yoayuki interrupted. "While I was down on the New Australia," Zephos covered her ears, Oh, my space god, I hope I'm not hearing what I think I'm... Vin offered me the chance of a lifetime. Oh, fuck, this is so weird. He heavily implied that I didn't actually need to marry the girls in order to perform the deed that... Okay, thanks, Chancellor, but I have a meeting scheduled, and I have to write that apology letter about not cussing in the ball pit or whatever, so bye. Even after Zephos left the room, Yoayuki continued talking and rubbing himself. Okay, that's gross. Nobody wants to hear about how Vin was desperate to have more half-Ecafrigian civilians aboard the New Australia, so he actually stayed in the room to make sure the Chancellor finished the deed bareback into several different women of several different alien races. And then they high-fived while Yuki's tentacle was still wet? Okay, stop, change perspective,
Yep, that's enough.
Yep. At a space tavern called the Blackout Hole, Eri and Nova were having drinks and honoring the memory of their fallen friend, Flare. They were halfway through their third bottle of Martian Red, and though the evening had started off with a somber toast to Flare's memory, now they were both pretty drunk and giggling and had reached the philosophical level of drunkenness. Wait, so you're telling me that in space, you don't measure value in gold? No, dumbass. Gold has no intrinsic value. Its original value lay in its scarcity. But in infinite time and space, nothing is valuable. And nothing, as they say, is rare, except dark crystals and peace. Nothing? Not even life? You kidding me? Nothing is more common or less valuable. Besides, now we have a bring you back to life machine inspired by the movie Jason X. Really? Could we use that to revive Flare? We could, if we had some of her DNA, like one of her hairs or fingernails or something. I actually have both those things back in a jar in my room. Also, just like the movie Jason X, the Bring You Back to Life machine restores your life, but also turns you into a killer robot, so... Flare picked up the whole bottle of Martian wine in front of her and finished it off. Yep, you're right. Let's do it. The end.
Alright. Well, that got a little weird there, but,
Okay, so someone died, but...
Your title was a lie.
My title was a lie.
Tentacle sex.
There was something going on there.
And then they decided to bring back Flare. Again. Because she already came back once, right?
No, she didn't come back. She just... Eri forgot she was a clone the first time.
Okay.
Oh man, that's another level of using the prompt I didn't even think about.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I guess this episode was catching up with some of our friends, finding out what's going on.
Multiple layered cliffhangers.
Yeah. Eventually I'm going to start resolving some of them, probably. But that's universe building.
I'm just curious what the Banshee is going to do when she walks in on her husband having sex with the clone. I imagine she's going to kill them both. And your next episode will be called In Which Everyone Dies.
Anyway, yeah, I'm excited about some of these cliffhangers. Gonna start into them next time, depending on what the prompt is. See which direction we go, but...
I can only imagine what the prompt is going to be.
Oh, right. Okay, I mean, we've both already picked the prompts, but I'll decide where to go with the story after I hear yours. So, right. I want to hear your story.
Alright. It's called The Clone Wars. No, not really.
Good.
It's called The Clone Wars with 3 exclamation marks. There we go.
I think that's safe. I think that's not used yet.
It's all lowercase, too, because I didn't hit shift when I was typing it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, that's extra safe,
exactly,
too.
Yeah.
Let me just go ahead and Google Clone Wars with 3 exclamation points. Not there.
Yeah.
Not there.
Sweet.
All right. Let's hear it.
All right. So, in my universe, clones are pretty commonplace.
Yeah.
They're considered second-class citizens on most worlds because that's a good way to draw parallels with the real world without being too specific. And the universe without conflict would be dull after all. So Our story starts with Hobbleplox. She was one of...
Hobbleplox. Yeah. Okay, just making sure I'm saying it right.
I get the feeling I'm going to regret naming her that because it's a horrible thing to try and say out loud.
Someday I want to get the name straight in your story.
That's the only weird name in this one, I think.
Oh, really?
She was one of about 10,000 clones of the Queen of Hadroxia 12, a planet of humanoids with a partial hive mind focused around one particularly vain queen, also called Hobbleplox.
Now I get why your character's named Hobbleplox, because she's a clone of Hobbleplox.
Exactly. There are only about 75 true inhabitants of Hadroxia 12. And from them were derived about 1 billion clones. Oh. They did everything for the ruling class, from manual labor to managing corrupt corporations. From each of the 75 real people, there were only actually about 10 clones of the original. They formed the second tier of society. And from them there were further clones, which tend to degrade in quality the further they got from the original donor. They had learned to use these degradations to create specialized clones for everything from soldiers in the military to expert drinks mixers at bars and cafes. Uh-huh. These types of clones were typically happy with their lots in life. They could look up at the ruling class and see someone that looked more or less like themselves and be content that person was probably serving their best interest, even if it was pretty obvious to the outside viewer that they were all just self-serving asshats.
Man, I'm drawing parallels.
Yeah. Now, back to Hobbleplox. As I stated, there are only 10,000 clones of the Queen, much less than the others. This is because the Queen sees it as a debasement of herself if there are too many clones. She doesn't want any of them doing manual labor, as it might degrade her stature. Instead, each of her clones rule their own caste, taking orders from the Queen directly when necessary. This is where the trouble begins. For Hobbleplox was in control of the lowest class of workers, namely corporate retail managers. I should say, there's no money earned in this society, so class is based on value to the rest of the society. And so naturally, corporate managers are the lowest of the low. Blind obedience to the corporation and general abuse of their tiny amounts of power over their workers makes for some truly unwanted people.
Oh, God.
As a note, this is entirely based on the one job I ever worked at a big corporation. I worked at Walmart in college for about 2 months. I quit because my car broke down and I didn't want to walk like 5 miles to work every day. For minimum wage.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Also, they were probably going to fire me because I liked wearing silly hats.
They have a no silly hat policy?
Yeah, my manager would yell at me like every day because I had a different ridiculous hat on. It got to the point where I was going to the theater and taking hats out of the props closet just to see how long it would take to get someone to complain. But anyways, being of the lowest class did make it for a strange dynamic where they were the bosses, but all of their employees looked down on them as such. Not so different from how it works here, really. Except the employees on Hadroxia 12 are less frightened of losing house and home should the fickle managers lose their cool. What little cool they have. Every member of the community had their job, and they knew they had to do it, but that didn't mean they had to respect anyone else for doing the same. And truly, there wasn't a whole lot of strife or assholery. I'm just trying to say that everything was just fine, thus negating my previous sentiment that there needs to be strife. But I'm getting to that. Like I said, there's a strange amount of fourth wall breaking in this story.
Well, I mean, but it's all coming back.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully.
I mean, it's really a commentary on the writing process.
Something like that. Hobbleplox was unhappy with her lot in life. This made her somewhat unique. As stated, most of the clones were reasonably happy. When she was younger, she thought there might be something wrong with her, but when doctors failed to come up with an explanation, she decided to own the unhappiness. To this point, she'd gone through life bitterly, and commanded her underlings to do the same. This was widely believed the cause of management's bitter personality, though that is certainly not the case. There came a breaking point, though. One day, she woke up with her handmaiden had gotten the AC setting a little too low for her liking, so she was a little cold when she woke up. This so outraged Hobbleplox that she summoned her handmaid, Dontria, scolded her quite loudly, and, spirits crushed, Dontria apologized and quickly left to continue her daily duties, which she would go on to perform with a little sigh after each one, denoting her sorrow.
I think she got off easy.
Hobbleplox then moodily did the same, without the sighing. As she was headed to her weekly union meeting with the heads of her caste, she tripped over a step and nearly lost her balance. This was the final straw. She went into the meeting, and without overthinking it, she told those gathered that it had been a bad day and a worse life, so it was time to overthrow the queen.
Oh. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Just one bad day.
Yep, and it wasn't even that bad. She was a little cold, and then she tripped.
It sounds worse than any day I've ever had,
well,
literally.
That's true. But we're just lowly corporate management. How are we supposed to achieve a full governmental overthrow? Asked Roger, a pretty typical crony. Because, as the lowest class, we're a sympathetic cause, if we play it right. As a clone of the Queen, she had a natural gift for rallying a cause, no matter how silly. The first step we must take is making ourselves more sympathetic, however. Because let's face it, you guys are dicks. There's general consensus that this was quite accurate. They needed a change in behavior from the class on the whole. Well, what if we started ordering workers to take extra vacations, then just overwork the people that don't? Robble didn't quite understand the core concept here. No, that's unfair. Unfair to those who continue to work, said Hobbleplox. So how about we take away their vacations? Then they won't have to work as hard, because everyone will be lightening the load. Flopper was even less aware. No, I think we should take one hostage and demand they pity us in exchange for his safe release, put in Audible. What if we commission a mural that dramatically depicts our plight, suggested Greg. What if we protest the concept of class and demand a form of government that represents the people as equals rather than based on capabilities and source DNA, said another. Wait. Hobbleplox stopped this before it all got out of hand. She also had heard a good idea. That was goddamn genius. Who said that? Oh. Well, it wouldn't be too hard to take one captive, started Audible, but he was cut off. Not that one, you idiot. The murals. Who brought up the murals? I said it. I have a friend in the artist cast who pities us. He might be able to do it. The genius who came up with the mural idea, Greg, was one of the few managers that was actually a good person, hence having a friend.
Oh.
Greg had started his days as a typical manager, taking out his bitter rage on hapless employees. But then one particularly stressful day, his mind just snapped, and he started behaving very sympathetically. He stopped writing up every employee for any tiny mistake they made, and he began helping his workers with issues they couldn't solve, instead of just referring them to useless, decades-old training holograms. Then, one fateful day, he walked out onto the streets, entered a small cafe, and met a young, idealistic painter, and started a conversation. He avoided the class topic for a while, though it did eventually come up. It didn't seem as big a deal as Greg assumed it would be. More pertinently, though, in the intervening years, the painter, named Ralph, had become quite famous for his paintings depicting the struggles of other species, trying to be as awesome as the Hydroxian. Because, let's be blunt here, even the lowest class on Hydroxia was better than some scummy outsider who wasn't even a clone of someone awesome.
Gosh darn outsiders.
For it was widely believed on Hydroxia 12 that they were the best, and everyone else wished they could be as awesome.
Yep.
And so, Hobbleplox and Gary went to talk to Ralph about commissioning some murals around the city. Ralph answered the door to his apartment and saw the Queen's clone, but got confused and thought it was the head of his caste. A common problem on Hydroxia. Hello, darling, you're home early. I believe you have me confused with someone else. Oh. A little joke, I assure you. Ralph, not 2 seconds after being introduced, had screwed up big time. Clones of the Queen were not supposed to have personal relationships with anyone, but especially not with members of their own caste.
Ooh.
Yeah. Please, come in. Hello, Greg. I didn't see you back there. Yes, sorry, I had never met, much less spent time with the Hobbleplox before, so I've been cowering. Oh, no, that's probably just her exerting her hive control over you to make it uncomfortable. Mine did that to me quite often at first as well. We have since, as you may have guessed, moved past that. Yes, about that, Hobbleplox interrupted. I think we can overlook your breaking of the rules if you can help us out in the endeavor we came to discuss. Oh, of course. So what is it you would ask of me? Oh, nothing too taxing. We just need a mural or two painted to garner sympathy for our people. Oh, simple as that, huh? Do you know how time-consuming murals are? No, I don't. I suspect you will now be highly motivated to work on them. Greg was feeling bad for his friend, and broke through his desire to cower. I'm sorry for all of this, Ralph. Hobbleplox, if you want us to be more sympathetic, why are you being like this? Look, we'd really appreciate your help, Ralph, and your secret is safe. It was Ralph that interrupted this time, before Greg got too out of hand. It's alright, Greg. I don't blame you. And I'll take the job, so long as she doesn't hold the secret over me any further. Agreed. You do this and your secret is forgotten forever, said Greg. I'll be the judge of that. Yeah, okay, sounds fair. Hobbleplox will not be spoken for. So the deal was struck, and the plan put in place. The murals would be painted at the local town hall, and on the outside of caste headquarters for maximum visibility. And next time we'll explore the ramifications of paintings and the first ever attempt to overthrow a hive mind. How will it end? Presumably spectacularly.
The to be continued. Yup. All right. I'm digging it.
Yeah.
The court intrigue.
Yeah.
The painting. The critique on both corporate culture and governments.
Yeah, exactly.
And hive minds? Fuck hive minds.
Yeah, Initially, I was planning on going more into that, and then my story ended up being like 3 pages longer than the rest of the stories I've written. So I was like, yeah, maybe I should stop now and just finish it later. Or finish it in my next story.
Yeah,
which is what I did.
I mean, it was a logical ending point.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I did.
I can't be too disappointed.
I ended up cutting a couple of pages of it out and using it as the start of my next story. Because I went into another storyline a little bit, and I was like, yeah, this is a better ending point. So I did, in spite of what I said, I did edit it some.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, well, yeah. Thank you. Very funny story as usual.
Yeah.
What are our prompts for next time?
Mine was...
what was your prompt? What's your suggestion?
Mine is shuttlecraft.
Shuttlecraft. So, a shuttlecraft...
Like in
can you help me?
In the Star Trek sense of the the little ship that stays docked inside the bigger ship for when you need to go littler places.
For when you want to go down to the tiny food restaurant and eat your tiny pizzas and your tiny meatloaf.
I just
little bits.
The Douglas Adams book. I forget which Hitchhiker's Guidebook, but he has the Starship Bistro mat. It's an Italian restaurant that can travel super fast because time is not real inside restaurants.
Oh. That's why you don't get paid for, like, working there.
Yeah. I mean...
Or as a waiter.
Yeah.
You just get tips.
Yep.
And because you think that you've worked an hour, but really you've only worked, like, maybe a third of that.
But anyways, your prompt?
My prompt is time travel.
And now can you talk us through what time travel is?
Well, you see, time travel is when you enter into time and travel through it. And it is definitely not an excuse to retcon stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought you were going to do.
No. I'm promising myself, the audience, you... I'm not doing that.
Starting your whole story
I'm using the
over
bring you back to life. I'm using the bring you back to life Jason X machine to do that. Although the original purpose of killing her was so that I wouldn't have to read as many female characters.
But then you left her sister or her friend. Are they sisters?
Her friend.
Okay.
They're friends. Okay. They're friends.
I can't remember that long ago.
That's okay. They were a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's why I caught up with them this time. Find out what's going on.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, anyway, thanks everyone for listening to this episode of Basically Sci-Fi. Again, follow us on Twitter, Facebook if it's there yet. You want to add anything?
No.
No?
No. No, yeah. Agreed. Thank you for listening. I think the stories are definitely starting to get a little better, if not a little more weird.
Yeah, because now we've got a universe to work in.
Yeah. They're, like I said earlier, I think I'm gonna bring back some old characters in my next story. So to meet the new characters.
Oh, crossover.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, if it is all happening in the same universe, why doesn't everyone know each other?
That's a big universe.
Yeah. That's what you think.
And I think a lot of my story relies on the fact that they haven't met yet.
Probably, yeah.
Or else Ari might have told them that Edith is dead.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I
can't really have them.
That's the other thing. I keep forgetting that Edith is dead. Now I know you're gonna retcon that.
No doubt.
No doubt.
So next time it'll be time travel and shuttlecraft. Expect time traveling shuttlecraft. Thank you guys for listening.
Indeed.
We'll see you next time.
See you then.